Hello and welcome to another race report on the Zwift Racing League. It is brought to you each week by WTRL. This week's report is for the Herd of Blazing Bidets. This week taking on race 6 of the current series, the Tour of Tewit Well, or as James has called it,
Tour of Tewit Hell.
A quick look in at the roster for this week's race. It was pretty much the regular bidet crew with your narrator, Brian O'Connor, Wooly Hagen, James Bailey, Chris Greenland, and Darren Scott. Or for those who are following our nickname group chat, it is Counselor, Goose, Snowman, Hulk, Number One, and Scotty. We'll just flip over to James's feed for a few seconds as we look in at the course that we'll be racing, the Tewit Well course. A flaming roller coaster to hell, a little too dramatic. In semi-seriousness, this is the course we are racing. It starts just before this little downhill about there, and then we climb this yellow segment. That is the KOM, finishing at the top here. So that's where the points for both first across the line and fastest through would be had at the top there. Then you come to downhill and this little climb here, and then the main feature of Tour of Tewit Well, the infamous pot bank wall, which we will be fighting, goes up as high as 22% there. After you get to the top, a little more flat downhill, a little bump here that can be a big attack before you go down this long downhill turn with the finish just right about here. So that's the course for today's race, 4 laps through that. Alright, so this is fast forwarding back to the start of the KOM segment. I mean, everybody was in the group for the start of this, not much to be had. So this KOM segment is about you can see it at the side there, 1.9 kilometers. 5 kilometers at about 4%. So not the steepest KOM overall, and the lower bit is actually the flatter bit. So sort of my strategy was to like be in, and then as it ramped up, push up to the front. Unfortunately, what you'll see here is the bike demons are going to grace me with a trainer dropout right in the middle of this flat bit. As we start up a steep bit. Right there. Yay, trainer drop. So you can see my speed goes like from what we were at 48 to like down to 30 kilometers an hour. And I've dropped from like 10th place, like 29th place, which 30th place, which I mean maybe these guys would have passed me anyway. It was only a second, but I gotta say I felt pretty demotivated to push through the KOM after that. So just scooching up the road a bit, you can see that the front group of 20 or so riders has broken away, and they're going through the turn, which is the end of the KOM. I'm like in the mid-20s, and I think my finishing time is at 24th. So now we're just skipping ahead. This is the second climb in each lap. You can see just in front of me Brian, so he is bridged now from what would have been the second group up to the first group, and I am just going to close behind him and make that bridge. So we are both going to be in the front group at the top of the second climb, give or take. Somewhere around here, Chris had also noted to us that his knee had suffered on the KOM. Chris has an old hockey injury that sometimes springs up when we're doing hard races. We should probably take a quick look at how that happened. So Chris is pretty tough, even for a hockey player from California, that he keeps riding bikes with us each week. This is now the first trip up Pot Bank Wall. I don't know what else to say except for that these guys are exceptionally good cyclists. You'll see Brian rides away from me here. I mean, part of this is I'm probably in the heavier quarter at least of these guys going up here, but still no excuse. Every time right up the wall felt a bit like this guy. So full credit to Brian for hanging this group. I get dropped off here. You can see the group is pulling away from me, and I'll sit up eventually and just sit in the group that's in around 30th after this. Here is James's first trip up. The wall, that pink Tron just in front, is actually Chris. So as we get through the wall and up to sort of the middle climbing distance, which is like an 8% stuff, 22% type of grade, you'll see James gonna catch up to him. And if you look over to the right, you'll see that Scott is just yeah, 20 seconds in front. So eventually they will also get caught up here as well. But I'd say watch for James's placement here in 66th, 65th, because that will change over the course of the race. He does have a better rest of the race than the start of the race for sure after this. So here is James and Chris. They have now made up the 12 or 13 seconds, whatever it was, they last showed him, and they have now caught up to Darren. This is the last little rise at the very end of the lap before it goes sort of long downhill into the finish line. So kind of cool. We had 3 bidets here, James, Darren, and Chris all working together. At this point, although Chris was a little hampered by his knee, so they're sort of trying to drag up as many more bodies as they go along as they can. Back in my group, probably second group technically still, but we were just gobbling up 1s and 2s along the road, like these 2 guys as we went along. So that was kind of just the second group moving pretty well together. Brian was still in that group at the very front ahead of me at this point, so we're just gobbling as many riders as we can. Back to this is now wall run number 2. Once again, the fastest guys are going to go off in front of me on the steepest part, but this time, in this group anyway, I'm able to grind away a bit. It still feels, when you hit this steep bit, a little like this. And this is James, Chris, and Scotty on their second trip up Pot Bank. What you'll see here is that James essentially is going to roll away from Chris and Scotty as he powers through the climb here. And I think at this point he's broken out of that group, and you can see he's already moved from, at one point he was as far back as 69th, and now he's going to move past Chris into 59th, so he's made up 10 places late in this race, and he's going to carry on and keep hunting for more places after this. But I think at this point Chris and Scotty get dropped from him, and they roll around together after this, and it's James sort of hunting off 1s and 2s from this point on. Now this is my group, just at the very start of the KOM on lap 3, and we're just catching up to Brian. You can see him in the blue hat, it's just caught up here. Now Brian is in this group, and I think we go as far up at this point as like 22nd or 23rd, something like that. So this is sort of, again, the main chasing group, as I would describe it essentially. And then I think if I've got this right, this is when Brian gets dropped. He's a victim of anvils on the descent coming out of the KOM. You'll see he's right with me there. I'm going with this group. You can see like I'm in 24th here. There's like I'm sure it's up to 20th at the front at this point. And Brian is just getting dropped off the back. Yeah, this descent, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. You'll see as we hit the very bottom of the hill, he's going to start sprinting to get back on. There's the orange numbers, 9.1s. When we start climbing, he just never quite recovers back onto the group after that, unfortunately. This is now my third trip up the wall. Once again, going up the wall always feels a bit like this.
Oh, he's right behind you, he's right behind you. Oh, he's in your face, mate. Oh, he's actually coming.
Yeah, so I had a feather on this one, which helped, and I do manage to stick this group and stay with it for this lap at least. So there wasn't much interesting that happened in between the walls on laps 3 and 4. And so here we go to the wall on lap 4, and I get totally dusted on this one. I get blown right off the back of this group. Can't go with them. It's too much for me. So, felt a lot like this poor kid. Of course, unlike me, James is a champ at the wall. Here he is at the very top of the wall, and he's going to actually pass these guys, and he's going to move up into 56th place. Remember, he's been back as far back as for sure 69th. So while he uses the wall to pick up 13 places, I use the wall to drop 13 places. Good job, James. Following me getting dropped by the chase group at the wall, I found myself in this group of 3 riders coming into the final climb. I am going to put an attack on here to try and shake them because I know I'm a terrible, terrible sprinter. So I do put it to them a little bit here on this climb, and it does half work because we do shake Spanza, but Jarlstig comes with me. I wasn't able to shake him off. It will end up being 2 of us, me and Jarlstig, into the finish without Spenza. We managed to shake him here. So this is now fast forwarding to closer to the finish line. This is me and Jarlstig as we go through. You can see that my fat fingers trying to hit my drafting boost have minimized my Zwift window in my recording, and I have to try and find it and then get caught back up to him. I think it's probably good that I at least hit the drafting boost before that happened so that I wasn't right off the back, but I did have to put a little effort in to get back on his wheel here with my drafting boost. And then I come around and I've already got my speed, and I just decide I've got speed going in this corner. I know it's a little bit early, but I also know how bad a sprinter I am, so I try and make a go for it, and it is awfully, awfully close before he catches me, I gotta say. It looks like super close. Anyway, we'll watch James here as he grabs one more rider on his way to the finish. Final results: the Bidets finished in 9th place for the day. I was in 32nd, Brian in 37th, Oli in 45th, James in 54th, Chris in 63rd, and Darren Scott in 66th. That left us in 9th place for the day, and in terms of the table, that means we now have sole possession of 8th place, so we've given up 1 place back to the EWCC Hawks, who have one really strong rider who had a bunch of points on the day. But we're only 2 points back with 2 races to go. Lots of good racing left to go. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great night.